I'm from Lanka Education and Research Network. My name is Asita Bandaranayak. I am the consultant CTO of LEARN. And LEARN is the National Research and Education Network in Sri Lanka, established in 1989. Same as, similar to BDREN here. And also we are part of the Asia Pacific NREN Consortium, APAN, as well as the Asia Pacific NREN network called Asia Connect. We don't know this. All the NRENs are in this region is actually connected through a research and education network. This is different from the commodity internet. We are connected. Yeah. So anyway, we are connected. Bangladesh also connected to India, and we are connected to Europe, US, and all that. We have a specific network. Yeah, we hosted. We have been doing a lot of things related to AI and HPC over the 5 years. We hosted APAN56 in August 2023, where we initiated the APAN conference on HPC AI in Colombo in 2023, and we have had that 3 iterations now in Pakistan in 24, in Hong Kong in 50, in Hong Kong in 2025, and this year we are having it in Auckland at APAN62 in August. We have also initiated this working group on HPC AI at APAN57 in Bangkok, Thailand, and now it's confirmed as a working group from APAN59 in Japan. So this Gen AI initiative, we submitted a proposal along with BDREN, who we work very closely with Taurit and the team. And along with the APU chair in Malaysia, I'll tell you about that in a bit. So we got a grant to do this capacity building program across the region, prioritizing least developed countries and the lower middle income countries, but it's open to all actually. So it's based on we did this based on the workshop that APU we did with APU, Asia Pacific University in Malaysia, in March in 2024. This was inspired by that one where they have this different modules for AI Teach for elementary school teachers, elementary and secondary, AI learning design for higher education, AI RE for research, AI AW for academic writing, HPA for health professionals, and AI Leap for administrative people. So that's based on that one. So basically the idea is that the NRENs, the main idea was the NRENs in the countries, low income countries and lower middle income countries face the resource problems when it comes to resource personnel, network engineers, and other equipment and all that. And this is making the digital divide between our countries and the richer countries even more. So how we can use Gen AI to provide solutions to make things productive and effective, right? So that's basically the main idea. Our key outcomes is to have a tailored Gen AI curriculum and training material and improve the NREN staff capacity with practical skill development, not a theory class, for people to do something and develop something. And we are going to make this available online as an open education resource, so the others can also use this one. So that the main idea was to actually empower the NRENs, but now we have extended it towards the NREN members, member institutes, and their uh, um, employees as well. So we are mainly catering to NRENs as well as universities, research institutes, and so on. The key activities that we have done, actually, even before we got the grant, we did a initial workshop in Pakistan in APAN58 in Islamabad, just to get an idea about how receptive the audience is, and we had a really, I think our one was the most popular event at that APAN as well. And then based on that one, we did a curriculum development in Kuala Lumpur with APU. And then we had a couple of pilot programs just to test the curriculum and get the feedback. One in Sri Lanka and one at BDREN office here last January. And then we had the two regional workshops at APAN59 in Yokohama in March last year and APAN60 in Hong Kong. In addition to that one, we have also done other with invitation. We have done a lot of other such training programs in different universities and different places, even Sri Lanka Press Institute, because a lot of demand for these type of programs. Yeah, let's mention that one. We are also trying in the verge of publishing these results as well to show the others how this can be done, the lessons learned, and all that. One of those is I actually got a chance to go and present this at the Special Interest Group for AI at JAUNT. JAUNT is the European NREN Consortium, and I did that in Poznan in Poland as well. So far, we have done 11 workshops. Actually, it's much more because BDREN and the people we trained at BDREN have done more workshops here, and we don't have the numbers of that done as well. So this is a cascading effect. So when we train people and we get them trained and we provide them with the certification, and we encourage them to go and do similar workshops in their institutes and other places as well. So that effect is actually happening. So BDREN, Arafin and their team has done a few more workshops, so that numbers has to come. But so far, we have trained. We were supposed to train only about 100 people, actually less than that. But we have so far trained more than 400 participants in these workshops. And we are also having this certified trainer program. So for anybody interested, we will do another couple of activities and give you a certification as a certified trainer, so that you can, which go on from Learn BDREN and UNESCO chair, so you can use it as a certified trainer as well. Yeah. Anyway, I'll skip that one. This is not just that, but based on this, we also were invited to actually submit another grant proposal to the TNCC or Asia Connect project, and we got another grant which we called AP Gain Plus to train NREN and connected professionals in 10 countries. So we had 2 workshops last year in August in Laos and Thailand. We got participants from 10 countries. One of those is here. 2 men from Mongolia also was here at you were in Laos, right? Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So we trained from participants from 10 countries during those workshops. So here, most importantly, what our plan for these 2 days. Actually, Arafin is asking, and Taurit is asking why we have limited it to 6 sessions. We used to do 8 sessions because we are also involved in a lot of other activities here at the APAN, so very hard for us to also find time. But today, anyway, we only have 3 sessions because we have the opening ceremony happening in the afternoon. So after that, we'll also come back. So we'll have the introduction and we'll also have a quick look at the survey results. I'll tell you why it is important. And we'll have a quick introduction to AI and Gen AI. Once again, we have a wide array of participants who claim they know nothing to people who say we are experts. So we need to establish a base. So I'll explain when I'm doing that. And then we'll have a prompt engineering masterclass, just to ensure that we are also in the same page. Everybody is in the same page about prompting. It's like, you know, even Google search, everybody's using ChatGPT, but are you doing it correctly? How can we use it effectively? So that's we will do. And then we will move on to identifying these workflows, tasks, and paths for improvement. From there onwards, it will be completely hands-on. So after the opening ceremony, we will start with the hands-on one. We'll have breakout sessions. We'll look at we'll try to group and work it as a groups to come up with solutions for different identifying problems. And tomorrow we'll continue with that one. We'll and then let you finalize and come up with your presentations. And we'll have the presentations, and once it's done, we'll have the wrap up and the certificate awarding at the end. Your active participation is needed if you are interested in getting the certificate. But you know, at least I am not. Even you're not interested in certificate. We hope with the previous experience that you know you will walk out from here tomorrow with some practical applications that you can use, you know, and on hand with your day-to-day work. Right. So that's the objective. Yeah. So. So anybody who has not completed this survey, please do so as soon as possible. I shared this yesterday. Sorry for the delay in giving that because there were too many registrants, so I had to ensure whether we can get everybody. So we had to rearrange the room and all that. So one announcement: tomorrow's session will also happen here. Right. So the original plan is to have it in Jaflong in 14th floor, but we have rearranged it. So the tomorrow session will also happen in the North Sky. Okay, so if you have not done, please register and do it. We'll just quickly go through. Okay, right. Which country you're from? Bangladesh. It seems we have a few from other countries, but mainly from Bangladesh. Right. So name your organization. We have mainly from University of Dhaka and University of Chittagong, AUST. Right. Okay. So mainly from the universities currently. It's good. Right. Okay. So obviously, this is the first time that having a majority male. So far, we have had a break of 50-50 participants. Usually, it's mostly male. So academic staff mainly. We also have engineering, administrative, management as well. So we can hopefully find common groups to work with. Yeah. How many years have you been working in your current organization? More than 15 years, mostly, and also fresh. It's also a good combination. And what are the following tasks that are the part of your main responsibility? Of course, academic teaching is there. Research. Yeah. But then you also have things like documentation and reporting. Data analysis and predictive maintenance, financial management. So there are other things that comes into the picture, recruitment and so on. So even if you are a network administrator, network engineer, an academic, you also always have report writing, documentation, all those things. So there are pain points that are in your day-to-day life. So that's what we are trying to figure out. Which of these tasks do you currently perform manually? So once again, proposal writing, educational content creation, report generation, data analysis, visualization, routine data entry, and all these things, doing manually. So we'll come back to that one later. How we're going to address this and how we can use Gen AI and AI to move beyond this. Yeah. So what skills do you currently use to perform technical, analytical, communication, administrative? Once again, very important. I'll tell you why specifically these technical, analytical skills. What is the biggest challenge you face in your current workflow? Now, this is something important and interesting. So lack of technical knowledge is not the main issue usually, right? Time-consuming manual tasks, right? So that's what we will try to address. This time-consuming manual task. Can we find a solution for that one? Insufficient support for research activities. I can't do nothing about, but let's see how we can actually enhance the research part as well to make better. So, for example, one of the things I forgot in my introduction is that the two proposals, the AP GAIN proposal for the AP NIC, it's a very competitive grant. There were, I think, 180 plus proposals, and only about around 10 or less were given. And I wrote that in 3 nights. Previously, if I write a proposal, it took me about a few months, and normally I would give up because I can't finish it before the deadline. But with Gen AI, I could do it in 3 nights, not just 3 days. I didn't even take 3 days; it's just 3 nights, and I'll explain later. Right? So, and even the AP GAIN plus one from Asia Connect, it's just probably 2 days. And I'll explain when we're talking about Gen AI later. How you can do it as well, how to use it effectively. I mean, everybody is using Gen AI, right? So then everybody should have got it. But it's not just using Gen AI, how to use it effectively, productively, to make even a better product, better result, for a better result, right? Right. So, what tools or software you use? Now, this is any software tool. It's not just Gen AI, right? But we see that you're using ChatGPT and other things, but also Office and other things, other tools mainly. How efficient do you find the current tools? From very efficient to inefficient is there. Some are being neutral. So this is just how frequently do you encounter inefficiencies in your workflows? Mostly daily, right? So there are a lot of inefficiencies in your current workflow. So let's try to see whether we can address those in this workshop. Yeah? How open are you to adapting new tools? So mostly very open, but there are some who are very reluctant as well. Well, let's see. That's reluctant one. So like there are two reluctant and very reluctant, but let's see how it is. Right. What metrics would you use to measure the successful of new tools or not? So increased productivity, improved accuracy, time saving, and enhanced collaboration, obviously, right? So clear about all those things, the importance of all that, time saving, increasing productivity. So that's what we are going to look at mainly. How familiar are you to generative AI? Yeah, of course. Now, it will be impossible to find anybody who is not familiar with Gen AI, right? Right. Why are we seeking views on Gen AI? Because, as I mentioned earlier, it's not just about using Gen AI or ChatGPT. How to use it effectively, productively, to ensure that you can to ensure you improve your productivity, and save time so that you can actually get more things done, right? And what are the Gen AI tools you have used in your daily work? So mostly ChatGPT, and then Gemini, and Grok. Okay, Copilot, Claude, DeepSeek, Perplexity. That's good. And I have to commend you as well. So normally I get Grammarly, but there's always Grammarly to people will spell in two ways, correctly and wrongly with the E as well. It's the first time, so congratulations to you. You have all managed to write it properly. Maybe using Grammarly itself, but every other workshop I have done, people would write Grammarly in two different ways with the A and a E. Which of these tasks have you used AI or Gen AI regularly? Report generation, data analysis, proposal writing, education. Okay, so there are a fair bit of use. So we'll see, probably you can share your experience with us. That's how we also improve our knowledge. It's about collaboration and learning from each other. And I have learned more from these workshops than I have given probably to the others, because there's always very interesting ways people will use, and it's this a lot to learn from each other. So we'll see as we go. Right. Okay. What are the craziest, exciting, innovative ways that you have used? Okay. Nothing exciting. Not yet done anything crazy. Yeah, I mean, I have had things like what to cook for tonight and so on, different things, getting recipe is for cooking and all that. What aspect of your job you believe would benefit most? Accuracy, content creation, search in the latest thing, and check for any more. Yeah, so that's a very good thing. I will come back to that one later. Generative can enhance teaching by creating course material and all that. Yeah, so every aspect, idea generation. Yes, idea generation. Ideation is actually the main part of Gen AI. Yeah, so there's a lot of things. So let's try to see how that can be used. How would you rate the current readiness of your organization? We already use him, but mostly moderate ready and somewhat ready, but needs improvement. So that's, I think, something that you can change, and we'll see, because BDN also are very supportive of this one and all that. So we'll see how we can, because BDN is actually working very hard to actually provide these things and provide the necessary support, right? And I think with HEAT also project, they are also trying to do many things. So let's see how we can go forward together. How confident are you to generate AI to improve your workflow? Yes, very confident. What concerns do you have about integrating Gen AI into your work? Lack of understanding of AI, concerns about data privacy, lack of support and training. So that's what we're trying to address here. Cost of tools. We're actually trying to, once again, with BDRN team, we are trying to develop our own Gen AI agent that will be much cheaper than the normal cost of ChatGPT and Gemini and so on. So let's see how it goes. Hopefully, we are trying to finish it as soon as possible to provide you with cheaper options than buying ChatGPT and other tools. Over-reliance on technology. Yeah, that's something we need to look at. Bias and the quality of the content. Let's talk about that also. Yes, how do you define things? Yeah, what skills do you think will need to develop the successful in world where AI is increasingly prevalent? Analytical thinking, creativity, ethical reasoning, digital literacy, uh, and so on. Data analysis skills. We'll come back to that one. Curiosity and lifelong learning, motivation, resilience, collaboration, emotional intelligence. So you're pretty divided, and also with I have an idea about what is needed. What do you wish AI could do for you in your everyday work life? I wish AI could fully automate routine tasks, manage email, schedule, summarize this absolutely. Correct me, assist me with correct output that we can talk about. Complete similar and repetitive tasks by its own. Yes, absolutely. That is something that we want to do. Automated research pipeline. Let's try to do this today or tomorrow. Why not everything? Yes. Right. What do you mean by everything? Right. Help more improve, time save. Right. So there's a okay. There was a question. Right? So this is a quote by uh, that was there in I think this was in 2024, right? What I want, like, the biggest problem with pushing all things AI wrong direction. I want AI to do my laundry and dishes so that I can do art and writing, not AI to do my art and writing so that I can do my laundry and dishes, right? So I've asked, what's your take on this? No, right? So let's see. I want AI to do my laundry and dishes so that I can do art and writing. At that one, so strongly, so you're actually towards disagreeing. I want AI to do my laundry and dishes. No, mostly. Okay, why not? I want AI to do my art and writing too, at least make better. I don't mind AI in doing any of these as long as I can use it to generate a better outcome. Okay. So, you're worried that AI will break your dishes and, mess with your the oh yes. Right. Yeah, so very, very interesting. So these are very interesting results, as you know. So this helps us to improve the program as well as use this to convince others to provide more grants. Will you be willing to participate in future training programs focused on Gen AI? Yes, maybe. And will you be willing to become a trainer for future training programs? So 71% said yes. So they have a chance after this one to become a trainer and get certified also and conduct more trainings so that we can ensure that we can train a lot more people. What type of training would be effective? Hands-on experience, basic understanding of AI and machine learning, ability to integrate into existing workflow, knowledge of data ethics and privacy. So there's, of course, once again, a big, a variation of things, starting from the basic understanding, right? What format? In-person workshops are really better. One-on-one mentoring, that's what we'll try to do tomorrow as well. But when it's not possible, we also have online courses to reach out for more. So we're actually having another grant in Sri Lanka to train 15,000 people. We are mostly doing it online, but we are bringing them in for one day at least, but mostly doing online for school teachers and arts and humanities undergrads and vocational training students. We are training 15,000 people on another grant that we got. Right. So once again, just to give you a quick things that to show that there's a wide array of requirements, needs, and the backgrounds. So we'll try to address all those things. So we will, without delaying, we'll start with quick introduction to AI to ensure that everybody understand AI and the background of it. Right. So Gen AI for NREN empowerment and introduction to AI and Gen AI. I normally call this introduction to AI and Gen AI as demystifying AI or a big picture view. Why? Because now everybody and anybody is talking about AI, right? From your niece, nephew, grandchild to grandmother is all speaking about AI, Gen AI. But the problem of everybody talking about Gen AI and teaching about AI is that I call that the problem of an elephant and the 7 blind men, right? No, you will touch upon the AI from whatever you know, and you will describe AI from it's like a big tree trunk, like a rope, and whatever, wherever you touch. So we see a lot of people trying to talk about AI, but just explaining from their point of view. So this is just to have a very big picture view of AI, trying to understand what AI and where it's coming from and where we are going, right? So to start with, the main first question is, what is artificial intelligence? But now, if you want to create something artificially, right? Before creating something artificially, we need to know what the main thing looks like. What is intelligence? So if you want to create something artificially, we should first know what the thing that we are trying to create. Yep. So what is intelligence? Now, this is a question that has been asked and given answers by people starting from Socrates to Einstein and everybody. If I ask every one of you, you will come up with a very different answer to what intelligence is, right? And no, there are many theories, right? So, when you think about AI, intelligence, we talk about wisdom, we talk about intelligence, we talk about rational thinking, the right thinking, the rational behavior. As while understanding that humans are inherently irrational, right? Can be irrational. So is it? So the question is, what are these things? And then we had intelligent quotients where mainly we are looking at mathematical and language skills, and now more things into emotional quotients. That's what makes us human, right? That's why saying, AI can never, they may probably do maths and language better than us, but not the empathy and the emotional intelligence part, right? So there are a lot of discussions about what makes us that. And now also we have the multiple intelligence theory, not just the verbal and the mathematical knowledge or the skills, but we have the interpersonal skills, intrapersonal skills, about the nature, and about doing things with your body, the dancing, sports, and all those. So there are a lot of other intelligences that we talk about now, more than used to be, right? So the simple conclusion is that there are so much discussion about what intelligence is, and so many theories, but there's no conclusion, or there's no single idea about what exactly intelligence is. So the question, once again, if we do not know what intelligence is, if we can't define what intelligence is, how are we going to create it artificially? If you have no idea what we want to create and what it looks like, and how are we going to create it artificially, right? Anyway, so the thing is, fortunately, we don't have to define it exactly. We can just try as we go. I think that's what's been happening with AI, with the trends of AI as well. We'll talk about that as well as we go. So before moving on to what is AI, what's your personal view about what AI is, right? Now, if somebody says AI, what comes to your mind? As soon as somebody says AI, what comes to your mind? Yes? What comes to your mind? Oh, machine intelligence? Okay. Yes. What comes to your mind? Try to copy a human. Yes. Anything else? Yeah. Okay. Any other things? What comes to your mind when somebody says AI? Children. Okay. 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 Someone doing your job. Okay. So this is very interesting, right? So I have been teaching AI for more than a decade. I learned AI about 2 decades ago when I was doing my PhD. I mean, I learned previously, but properly when I was doing my PhD in the US. So the impression that you get when you say AI has changed so rapidly and tremendously over the last decade itself. So when I started teaching this about 12 years ago back in Sri Lanka, or coming back to Sri Lanka, right? The initial thing that would come to anybody's mind, or the answer to this question, would be something like this, right? Which is a movie, right? Steven Spielberg's AI, and or something like Star Wars, R2D2 and 33BO, or do you know what this is? Yes, this is HAL from 2001 Space Odyssey, which is considered or voted as the biggest villain in movies in the last century. So even then, the biggest villain was an artificial sentient being, because it takes over everything and start thinking, and that was so scary. And it's still considered, like in last century, it's considered the biggest villain, not any person, not any person, but a artificial intelligence taking over, becoming sentient, was considered the biggest villain. But this is what we had. Even 10 years ago, even though there were little bit of things happening with AI, in general, people's psyche, we saw only in movies, right? AI was something that we only saw in movies, even 10 years ago, right? Even though we saw few other things. For example, in 1996, we saw Gary Kasparov, the world champion, getting beaten by IBM Deep Blue 2. And that was, I think, a very, very significant moment, thinking, oh, the computer's intelligence has come. But you know, the interesting story about Deep Blue 2 is, like, Deep Blue 1, actually, the first effort by IBM, Deep Blue 1, beat Kasparov in the first couple of games. But then Kasparov learned how the computer is working, and it won the competition. Right? Deep Blue 2, Kasparov could not do it. You know what they did differently in Deep Blue 2? Deep Blue 1 was programmed perfectly. Right? It can look ahead about 12 to 15 moves ahead, which is huge in chess, because number of moves that you can make. So it's just like, it can do those calculations very, very quickly, so on. So they made the hardware better, algorithm better, but they also did one thing differently. They introduced some unpredictability into the moves. Previously, the computer would make the best move. So basically what they did in this Deep Blue 2 is to introduce unpredictably, or simply some stupidity into the system. You introduce some unpredictability means now Gary Kasparov can't predict what the computer will do. It might make not the best move, but a suboptimal move. So now Gary Kasparov could no longer, plan his moves because he could not predict what the other guy is going to do. So he said, I felt like there's a human in front of me. So then AI with perfect logic looked like something a machine. But you introduce some unpredictability into that one. Now it looks like more human, right? So that's very interesting. Something that has gone into the development of AI after that. But that's numbers. If you have anybody has seen this game called Jeopardy. So Jeopardy is a word game. Now numbers, chess is moves, right? It's easy for a computer to calculate. Jeopardy, on the other hand, is a game where you are given an answer, you have to ask the question, right? So it's about understanding the context, understanding the language, and how to ask the question. So there's something that is much more difficult than something like mathematically aligned chess. But IBM Watson became the Jeopardy champion in 2011. Yeah, 2011. And there was another game which is considered that computers will never beat a human, called Go. Google's AlphaGo actually beat the Go champion Lee Sedol in 2016. So now, in games, whether it's numbers, whether it's a lot of, whether it's language, whether it's numbers or some other patterns, computers have become, better than humans in many of these things, right? And so that's what we had previously, and then we started seeing it everywhere, right? Driverless cars, smart agriculture, smart medicine, and even Google, right? Everything, it's completely AI based. Google knows you or me better than I know myself, right? It can predict what we want better than what I would know, right? So, it has become that. But why the sudden even bigger explosion is, of course, because of ChatGPT, Gemini, DeepSeek and all, right? This Gen AI revolution, which has made AI available to everybody, not people who knew about AI or know the fundamentals of AI. So now it has become available for everybody, right? So what is AI? Okay, I'm going to take a very quick view about what AI bigger picture is, starting from the beginning. Why? Once again, to understand where we are with Gen AI and all that, where we are in this current picture. It's better to it's good to understand the larger picture where we are coming from. So when it comes to what is AI, as I said earlier, is it a where did that come from? Sorry. Why is it there? Okay, sorry. That's in singular. So is it a thought process? Is it reasoning? Right? Is it a thought process? Is it a reasoning part? Is it mimicking humans? Right? So that is what normally asked. Is it going to replace humans? Right? And is it doing the right thing? Right? What is the right thing is a different story, but doing the right thing, how do you define right thing is a separate thing. So let's look at that one. So we're going to learn about the different perspectives of AI and recognize their current role in the field of AI. Okay. Now, in the previous one, I said two things, right? One is thinking part in your brain, right? Cognitive side of it. The other one is doing things, right? Is it a doing thing? So it's just only the cognitive part or the brain part. And the other one is mimicking or doing it like a human or doing the right thing when you say rational. So which one is it? Right? So we have four quadrants, right? Thinking humanly, acting rationally, thinking rationally. So there are four quadrants. When you look at those things, there are four quadrants. This is where the start of AI comes from. Right? So we start with acting humanly because that's what, the mimicking part comes from, right? Mimicking humans, acting like a human. That's where the main interest on AI started. And you know, if you have watched this movie, Imitation Game, starring Benedict Cumberbatch, this is Alan Turing. He's depicting Alan Turing, who's considered the not the father of AI, but he came up with the test of AI. Beginning, the Nobel Prize for Computer Science is the Turing Prize, right? So he's that, that's the considered to be that level. Okay, so he came up with a test called Turing test. So this is for the operational intelligence of operational test for intelligence. So basically, what is done is you have an interrogator, and there's a human responder, there's a computer responder. The interrogator has to, have a conversation and decide whether this is a human or a computer. Now it seems so simple, right? With ChatGPT and then all these Gen AI agents, it seems now we have kind of achieved. You have enough intelligent agents now, but 75 years ago, in 1950s, when Turing came up with this was a very, very challenging task. We also have what is called total Turing test with physical interaction also, which needs more things to do. So let's look at this Turing test and see what does a computer need, or what does a machine need to pass the Turing test, right? So we start with what is called natural language processing. What is natural language processing? Now, so when we look at computers talk with computer languages, right? Which are very, very precise. Even if you miss a semicolon, it won't work. So we have the syntax and the semantics, right? Syntax, how it should be written, right? The word order, right? So, so if I say something like I home go evening, you will understand, right? It doesn't matter, it's grammatically wrong. But if I say it even in the wrong order, you will understand, because no humans can manage it. But if you do it in the wrong order, the computer can't, right? So, but natural language is possible. And natural language has so many of these the variation. Like for example, you can include even speech recognition into the natural language processing. So if I say ice cream, what comes to your mind? Huh? Ice cream. Okay. Anybody else? Oh. Okay, it's cold. Yeah. What I really said is ice cream. Ah! Yeah, ice cream. Yeah. So which one is it? How do you know whether it's the ice cream you eat or that I am screaming? Yes. Experience. But if you're listening, context. Yes. So it's a context, right? Whether you screamed or you are eating an ice cream, it's context, right? Something like so this is that, I mean, the way we can understand. For example, if I say something like I saw a man with a binocular. Who has the binocular? So it could be like I saw a man with a binocular, or I saw a man with a binocular. Which one is it? Right? It could be both, either, right? It's like, okay, I saw a man with a binocular and I saw a bird with a binocular, then I am having the binocular, right? Once again, it's a context, right? So natural language is very hard. So, I mean, that's why we have been, improving, developing, but to get to this current stage, that's been a long 75 years of struggle to actually get to the stage that we are now with, handling natural language at ease with Gen AI. but it has been a very, very long journey. And knowledge representation. Don't give me the answer. How many of you know what a Chihuahua is? Okay. If I ask you to explain, if I try to ask you to describe what a Chihuahua looks like. Right? Okay. So let me give the answer to that one. So the Chihuahua is a small dog. That's a small dog. Okay. Like these pocket-sized dogs. So Chihuahua is one of those dogs. Now, if I ask to explain what a Chihuahua looks like, can you do it? You should be able to do it now, right? You can see why not. You can has 4 legs, has a tail, has ears, and all that. You might not give all the information, right? But previously you could not give anything. You didn't know what a Chihuahua is, but I told you just that it's a small dog, and you can describe it. If I ask you to draw as close as possible, you will draw a dog, small dog with feet, 4 feet, with a tail and head. And because you have what we call knowledge representation, like how it is saved, right? And combined with the automated reasoning. So you have the knowledge. You didn't know what a Chihuahua is, but you know what a dog looks like. What do you know what a small dog looks like? So there's the way that the knowledge is represented, right? So if I say something like, birds can fly, do you agree? Yes? Anybody who doesn't agree? Everybody agrees, right? What about a penguin? Right? What about an ostrich? Okay. Yeah. Okay. So now, then again, so if when I say this one, right? So you don't remember like this bird can fly, this bird can fly, and you don't have a list of 100,000 birds and say this can fly, and this cannot. You have birds can fly. That's how you represent the knowledge. And then you have some more information saying no, penguin is a bird, but it can't fly. So you have bird, fly, knowledge representation, and then you have very special few birds who can't fly. That's all you have, right? So if it's a bird, if it's not in this list, you assume that that bird can fly. No, so the knowledge representation, and so you're not going to enumerate all the birds and say this can fly, this can fly, this can fly. It's a way that you represent this knowledge, right? And use it for automated reasoning, right? Machine learning, I'll talk more about machine learning because there's a lot of confusion, or people use machine learning and AI interchangeably, which are 2 different things. Machine learning is part of AI. Machine is not AI, but most places you also see that people are interchangeably using this one. Okay. So for the total Turing test, we have more like vision and robotics. So those are also part of this and sensors, other sensors as well, right? So these are the things, these are the areas of AI that was initially developed for the what purpose? To mimic a human, right? So it's not just one area: natural language processing, knowledge representation, automated reasoning, machine learning, vision, robotics, sensors. All these areas were developed to achieve the target of mimicking a human. But we are not really interested in mimicking a human anymore, right? Mimicking a human is not really the task, basically, like, so we are focused more on studying the underlying principle. The reason is this, this is just to get a quote from the seminal textbook in AI by Stuart Russell and Peter Norvig, Artificial Intelligence, a Modern Approach. The humans, when they try to developed artificial flight. Initially, they tried to imitate birds, right? But they only succeeded when the Wright brothers moved away from trying to imitate the birds and studied the principles of aeronautical engineering and aerodynamics, right? So the idea or the right. So it's the same with artificial intelligence. So initially the objective was to mimic humans, but now we have moved away from that one, right? So even like artificial flights, now we have gone so far beyond the birds. We are not trying to imitate birds, but we are doing much more, much better. We are doing different types of flights which a bird can never do, right? So by moving over to understand the fundamentals and design, we can actually go beyond what a bird can do. So similarly, in artificial intelligence, the expectations is not to mimic a human, but to see how the machines can do better in these different tasks, right? So moving on with thinking humanly, very quickly. Thinking humanly, we call it cognitive science, right? There are two sides to it. Um, many other areas as well, like philosophy, psychology, neuroscience, anthropology, linguistic, all that's come into the picture for cognitive science. And they have two things. One is about the knowledge, how that cognitive side works. Other one is the neural pathways in your brain, how they work, right? So this is, as you can see, this is beyond computer science, computer engineering, because it brings in a lot of other domains as well. So this is not part of AI anymore, but it's widely studied in many areas, in many perspectives. Cognitive science and cognitive neuroscience are not, I mean, we consider it part of AI, but when you study AI, we are not going and studying this one, but we develop, like for example, artificial neural networks are built based on the knowledge that you gain from this one. And thinking rationally, what to think, what's the right way to think. That's what's called rational thinking rationally. And this is what we call logic. Logic is actually a basis of computer programming languages as well. But we teach logic in computer science because that's a build, as I said, the building blocks for computer programming comes from logic. But we don't consider this part of AI anymore. It's distinct, it's learned in many other areas as well. And then finally, we have what is called acting rationally. So acting rationally is doing the right thing, right? Or we call it rational agent. So the idea in AI now is about building these rational agents, building agents that can do the right thing. Now, what do you mean by the right thing? Now, for example, let's take automated car. Okay. Now, if you take an automated car, you can design all these things, it can drive. What is different in real life is that it has two different things that adds to a normal theoretical problem solving. Number one is uncertainty, right? What is uncertainty? You know, you're driving down a road, right? Suddenly, it becomes completely foggy. It starts raining. An animal jumps in front of the car. You know, there's so much uncertainty in the world, right? How do you take decisions on this one? Now, when it comes to uncertainty, so you should be able to work with uncertainty, right? You create a create an artificial doctor, like a diagnostic machine. When you go to the doctor, do they, like, you know, you go with some symptoms, do they get it right first time? Most of the time they would. Sometimes they won't. Then what do you do? Next time you will go and say, okay, it's not good. Then you do few more analysis and come to another conclusion, because there is so much uncertainty, right? If you can say it's uncertain, what ails you, you can treat it and you're done, right? But there's so much uncertainty in medical diagnostic and many of the things. Go do and do stock market prediction. There's so much uncertainty, right? So there's so you need to deal with that one. And number two is the resource limitations. Now, resources is not just the computing resources, right? I mean, definitely you can't have a high performance computer or a supercomputer in a car. The car would cost 100 million, right? So you need to have a computer with enough storage, enough processing power, enough memory in a car to do those calculations. So that limitation is there, but it's not just the resources, meaning the equipment. One of the main resources in AI or in decision making is time. Now, if you are having a automated car and a vehicle cuts in front of you or an animal jumps in front of you, you don't have 5 minutes to take an optimal decision. You don't have 1 hour to do all the calculation and decide what to do. You have to take that decision in the next, few nanoseconds. So your main resource limitation is not even the computing power that you have. Your main resource limitation is the time, right? If you can't make that decision with available information with the given time, it's useless. So you can't wait to calculate the optimal decision. I mean, that's what we do also, right? A vehicle jumps in front of you, we'll take a decision, we'll cut away or we'll try to stop. It might not be the perfect decision, and we might actually be in an accident or in a worse situation probably. But we have to take some decision to do something. And it's the same with a computer, right? You need to do it within the given time, otherwise it's useless, right? So that's what makes acting rationally or rational agent very, very what you call challenging to do, because there are many things that you need to consider, right? So this is what basically the main focus of AI now, right? Acting humanly and acting rationally, including the uncertainty and resource limitations. In addition to those areas, these areas are studied separately, but they are contributing towards the building of these rational agents. Okay. So the evolving status of AI, again, a big picture view, right? So again, we'll try to go very quickly. If you have any questions, please stop and ask. Okay. So in the 50s, we started with that general description, general idea in the 1950s. Towards 1980s, we moved towards this machine learning, which is a part of AI. And from the last decade and a half, we have moved on to the deep learning area. I'll come back to that one next. Right. So these are subcategories. So artificial intelligence, machine learning, and artificial neural networks is trying to mimic how the brain works. So that's called artificial neural network. Deep learning is evolution of that one, which I'll explain later. Generative AI is actually, again, another subsection of deep learning. So when you look at this evolution of AI, this is where it gets interesting. Now, in the 1950s, when this AI started, there was such a big boom. There's a lot of money invested on research and everything. So it's called the first golden years of AI, right? And then, naturally, if you have seen what is called this Gartner's hype circle, there's always a hype when something comes in. As we are having in Gen AI now, there's a big hype. So everybody is doing that one, and after a while you realize it's not as good as what people are talking about. So then suddenly, it has a crash, right? So we had the first winter of AI in the 70s. And again, we had these expert systems with this Deep Blue 2, this Gary Kasparov, all these different things. There was a sudden interest in, again, with the machine learning. There was another boom, which also again crashed because it could not sustain that interest that again generated. And then from the beginning of this century, we started seeing a gradual improvement, an increase in AI, use of AI in many, many different things. And with Gen AI, this has basically gone through the roof. So the question is, that rocket, what powered it? The first question is, what powered it? So what happened? What changed? So one, the fuel is data, right? Because even though we had the theories in the 50s, we did not have data, right? We are starting to digitalize. So more and more with IoT, with gene sequencing and everything going online, we started getting more and more and more data. So basically the fuel of AI is data. Without data, you cannot do anything. So number one. Number two, computing power. So previously, we even though when we had data, started getting data, we still don't have the computing power. So what's fueling now is this what is called not the general purpose computing, but we call it accelerated computing or specialized computing with GPUs or video cards. Right? NVIDIA started building video cards 30 years ago. It was only funded through games, video games. Now it's completely funding the entire AI revolution, right? Becoming the biggest company in the world. Right? So that computing power is not available, of course, even 20 years ago. Right? So it's changing the way it is. So the next question is, will this go like this? The rocket, will it go like that, or will it again come back down? Go up? Yes? Will it continue go like this? Huh? Continue? Actually, I'm not so sure. You know why? So, do you know how much data that is consumed in, for example, ChatGPT or GPT? GPT 3.5 had 600 billion parameters. 600 billion parameters, 3.5. When we went to 4, it increased to 1.7 trillion, 1.7 trillion parameters in GPT-4. What do you think it is for GPT 4.5? It's the same. Now we're actually not revealing how much it is, but the common consensus is that we have run out of data. I mean, from the world data, only about 10% is available online. That's one. But for building GPT, they've consumed almost everything that is available. And creating more data is very difficult. And also curating that data. So Meta, which is Facebook's mother company, they bought a company called Scale AI in last year. Scale AI, I mean, the founder of Scale AI is actually the youngest self-made billionaire, except for that celebrity Nick Kardashian's cousin, whatever. Anyway, so the company that Scale AI, what they do is create data, curate data, polish it, and make available for this AI because we don't have enough data. So, I mean, especially countries like ours. Now, even if I want to create a Gen AI in Sri Lanka, like Lankan AI, we don't have data. Now, if you go to the government sector, it's very hard to get the data. No, most of the things are not digitized. They're not available online, right? They're not properly curated. So it's a big problem. So, I'll talk about that later. And the other problem is the computing power. So last January, 2025 January, there was a big wildfire in Los Angeles, right? Wildfires are common in California, but in August, September, at the end of the summer, not the end of the winter. Now, what caused this is the using the water to cool down these data centers in California. And now in California, nobody wants to have a data center in their city. Like there are protests that we don't want, because it's consuming more water and power than a small city, one data center, right? And that is not something that is sustainable. And the other thing, of course, they can't even produce the number of chips that are needed for these supercomputing things anyways. But the cooling and powering those also is becoming almost impossible, right? So we don't know how far we can go these things, right? Because the computing power, we can't generate it, we can't sustain it. So how long it will go, we don't know, or at least how far ahead we can go. We might be able to sustain this, what we have now, but going further than that one, we have no idea. We have to wait and see, right? And also, there are three types of artificial intelligence. The first one is called narrow AI or weak AI. That's what we have now, where systems are able to do one task. So, for example, you have a AI that can drive cars. You have an AI system that can control, monitor and control a greenhouse. AI that can do, a surgery or a particular type of surgery, right? So you have narrow AI, which can do just one task. So that is what we have now. And it is predicted that so with that one, its jobs are enhanced, right? And then it is predicted that within the next decade or so, that we will have what is called artificial super intelligence. No, artificial general intelligence. So artificial general intelligence is that it can do the agent will be able to do many tasks that a human can do, right? So it's called artificial general intelligence or strong AI. When this happens, it's predicted that the jobs will be at risk. So you can just get an AI agent who can do many tasks that you will do and probably do it better. And soon after that, it is predicted that we'll have what is called a artificial super intelligence. An AI will have intelligence far superior than humans in every way possible. Right? Now, whether this is going to happen, I have no idea. Right? Who knows? I've been asked these questions. I don't know. It can be true, can be not. So the only thing that we can do is that, we have two choices, right? One is run away from this one and try to destroy AI, and it might become hell and destroy us. Or we try to learn and improve ourselves to be better, right? So that's, I think, the only choice that is remaining with us, right? Unless we also develop and try to use this and become better, naturally we are going to be replaced with AI. Right. So I will do this one and take a tea break and come back. So the components of AI, as I said earlier, machine learning, natural language processing, computer vision, robotics, and all that. Let's look at the quick look at machine learning, because there have been a lot of things that have been said about machine learning. Sometimes, as I said, it's the same thing as AI, but it's not. It's a subsection of AI. And machine learning is its own area. It's also necessary to understand what is meant by machine learning. Now, understand, there's one part here which says automatically. learn how to do things. If you remove this one, learn how to do things, right? Now, this is a very simple thing. This is what we do. I mean, this is what even the babies do, right? So let's use babies and try to understand what machine learning is, right? So machine learning has three main areas: supervised learning, unsupervised learning, and reinforcement learning. So the supervised learning, I mean, there are many different things, all those different things I'll show you later. But if you look at it, what is supervised learning? Now, if you take a baby, if you want to teach the alphabet, what do? You show an A and say A. And you show a B and say B. Now you do it once and then ask the child to do it. Will they be able to do, recognize A and B? I don't think so. You learn A only one time. Just your parent tell you one time, this is A. No, it doesn't happen like that, right? And A is written in many different ways. If you take handwriting, it becomes even harder. So what will happen is your parent, your teacher will get and say A, B, C, A, B, C, and you keep saying this many times, showing many times, and then you start learning. You start recognizing these things, right? It takes time. You need more and more data, different types of data. You know, if you want to learn handwritten, it makes even, you need more and more samples, right? Because you have the cursive writing, you have different ways of writing it, right? So you need more and more samples, and then you learn, right? Now, what will happen? Let's say, for example, I mean, it's the same with anything else. Let's say you want to differentiate between a cat and a dog. You have to show, like, this is a cat, this is a dog, or pictures. You have pictures saying this is a cat, this is a dog, this is a cat, this is a dog. And after a while, you will be able to recognize what a cat looks like, what a dog looks like, right? Now, the challenge is, like, imagine you wrongly categorize this. In case of cat, in place of cat, with a cat picture, you write dog. With a dog picture, you write parrot. You will write, or not write anything at all. It will completely go wrong, right? You will learn something wrong, right? So it looks simple. Like supervised learning is very simple. If you label data, if you rightly characterize data, you curate the data, clean it up, properly label, you can train them, right? It's very simple as that one. But it's not that simple, because there are a lot of other. For example, one of the classic examples that we take in the failures of machine learning or supervised learning is an example of using this in military settings. They had this software that was done, system that was done to detect enemy tanks, right? So they had like photos of tanks, no tanks, no tank, no tank, tank, no tank, no tanks, right? So, all labeled, properly labeled, done meticulously. So what we do in machine learning is we get that data, split it like for 75 to 25%. 75% of the data, we'll use it for training. And then we test with the 25%, the rest. Okay, this is working perfectly well. It's identifying the tanks really well, done. And you go and put this into you can go and put this into the field, and it fails spectacularly. Now they had to go and analyze why. Now what they realized afterwards was that the pictures of the tanks were taken on a sunny day, and the pictures of no tanks were taken on a cloudy day. So what the computer learns, you can't tell it what to learn. Then it becomes a rule-based thing, right? So then you have to say a cat will have 4 legs and a tail, and so that's rule-based thing. No, that we are automated machine learning. You give the labels and let the machine learn. What it learns, we can't dictate, right? So you had this. So what it had learned is sunny and not sunny as the tank and no tank, right? So so when you're giving, that's where the bias comes in. So your data, even though you have a lot of data, if it's not representative of the entire sector. You need to find tanks in every different setting, every different background. Then only it will learn properly. Otherwise, if you have a bias in particular data, that bias will be learned more than the real lesson, right? So that's supervised learning. Unsupervised learning. Unsupervised learning, it is what we do all our life. Most of the things that we know, we have not learned by somebody teaching us and showing it in a book, right? A lot of things we learn by just observing and things. So for example, if I ask you to categorize, classify, cluster this group of people here, how would you do it? You have different ways of doing. You can do it by gender. You can do it by the organization you belong to. You can categorize based on, your job title. No, there are many different ways that can be done, right? And you can't, you don't, when you're given data, you can categorize, cluster them, put them in a group in many different ways, right? So that's called unsupervised learning or clustering, right? Okay, so this is, and then reinforcement learning. So reinforcement learning, again, taking a baby, right? However much you tell them not to touch fire or put your finger into the power socket, they will do at least once. Hopefully they won't die, right? If they don't die, they will learn how not to touch fire again, right? Otherwise, that's how they learn. Like reinforcement, get a positive or a negative feedback. And once you're done, they will know what to do, right? So and actually that can be used for conditioning as well. I'm not going to go into details of that one, right? So supervised learning, you need classification and regression is basically based on the thing, you can predict the next value. Unsupervised data is called data driven. You create clusters and try to understand the similarities and the differences between those things. And reinforcement learning is learning from mistakes to do better next time. So that's basically what machine learning is. Even though there are so many theories behind it, so many models behind it, this is what it is. This is what you can do with it. This is the important thing. How to do it, you can ask ChatGPT how to use it. Okay, right? So as I said, there are many models, right? Okay, so we'll stop for tea and we'll finish this off very quickly and move on to the prompt engineering masterclass soon after, so that we can start the hands-on work after the opening ceremony. Okay, so we'll be back by 11 to finish the lecture series, and that's really all that we'll be talking. Afterwards, it's completely up to you to do. We will guide you, but we will go into the hands-on in the afternoon. Okay, see you at 11. So we were looking at AI and machine learning and how things are, how things are connected as well as how things are different. And so moving forward, as we discussed, there are other places, like computer vision, where you can do a lot of these activities: face recognition, optical character recognition, and automatic tagging of images, image generation, virtual reality, drone terrain mapping, and so on. Natural language processing, how to deal with text and speech, voice assistance, question answering machines, machine translation, sentiment analysis, looking at user comments and all that to see whether it's positive, negative, that kind of things, which are used extensively now in like, for example, any hotel chain, supermarkets, anywhere, they use AI bots to identify how the user reactions and how they are doing, not manual digging through the details now, right? And especially chatbots. For example, just answering, like, if you are the dean of a faculty, vice chancellor, and so on, there are enough questions that are coming from a lot of people, right? Now you don't have to have a PA or anybody. You can just create a chatbot to answer any question that anybody would have of any administrative, any matter, right? Machine learning versus deep learning, once again, very quickly. Now, previously, as I said at the beginning, previously, you need to be an AI expert or need to learn AI if you wanted to use AI. What happened with deep learning is that there are models and there are pipelines now, there are tools now where you can, like, so all these things, like, so the previously what you had is the one in the above, classical machine learning. So you need to learn how to use these different algorithms for different purposes, what to use, how to use, what fits with what, and so on earlier. Now, with deep learning, what has happened is that these are all pipelined. Now, what you need to learn is to how to provide it the input and to get the output that you want, right? Now, this is basically like, just to give you an example, that now, you don't need to be a mechanical engineer or a mechanic to drive a car, right? You don't need to know anything about motor mechanism to drive a car. Only thing that you need to know is to how to provide the input. No, so give the fuel, give the accelerator, use the steering wheel to get to where you want to go, right? And obviously, as learning how to drive a car, you cannot do this in day one, right? The current tools, if you go to, there are enough tools. You go online and look. There are enough tools where you can give the input and try to get the output. But as learning how to drive a car, you're not going to get what you want on day one. It needs practice. You need to learn how to give the input, how to give the right input, how to look at the output and make corrections to get to what you want. And depending on how much effort you put and so on, you can actually get better and better. I mean, the same thing with driving cars, right? You will probably never be somebody like Lewis Hamilton, Max Verstappen or somebody, or a Formula One driver. But if you want to be a Formula One driver, then you need to go and understand all the details. Now, if you have watched this, movies, Rush of James Hunt, Formula One winner, and Ford versus Ferrari, they say that they feel the vehicle's entire operation in their body. They understand how every mechanical part works. So if you understand that, you can actually become the very, very. Now, but you don't need to be a Lewis Hamilton or a Formula One driver, right? You just want to get you just don't want to drive the car and get to where you want to go. So deep learning models that are available, pipelines available, you can do the same. It'll take time. You need to learn how to give the right input to get the output you want. You should know what the output looks like, right? So it takes effort, yes, but it can be done. Now you don't need to be an AI. That's why AI has become so interesting now, because anybody can use it if you make the effort to learn how to give the right input and to get the output you need, right? That's why the AI revolution has become so fantastic, that it has basically democratized the use of AI. Anybody can do it, right? There are a few other things just to touch upon. As I said, just demystifying AI. There are a lot of things, as I said, people use interchangeably. When we look at machine learning, we also, one of the other things that we hear is data science. Data science is actually making sense of data, right? But we see this kind of overlaps with machine learning as well. Data analytics has been there for even before computers, making sense of data. Now it's about using computers, using machine learning to make sense of data. So making sense of data and doing something with it are two different things. And you don't need to always go and do something with it. You can just use it to get insight from the data and use it for other things. So what you want to do depends on whether you want to use for data science or machine learning. It's fine. I mean, you have to decide what exactly you want to do. Not knowing is also fine, but just to understand. The important part is this. Now, previously, you need to do, as I said, previously you need to have computer science and mathematics, statistics knowledge to kind of do these things. But if you want to really go and apply this one in any field, right, you need to have domain knowledge. So if I want to use this in let's say, agriculture, I want an agriculture expert, right? The agriculture expert will know how to use, what to make of those data. Like if you want to use it in stock market analysis or finance, no, I will know the AI tools. But we need to bring in the domain expertise to make sense of that one. So this is why it is very, very exciting now, because that's why we do this for different type of people from very different backgrounds. Because once you bring in the AI knowledge and use the use of tools to different domains, actually you can make a huge difference. So that's what we are trying to do here, right? And then, as I mentioned earlier also, what machine learning can do and cannot do, it's also important to understand. Once again, just to touch upon this one, right? So anything you can do with 1 second of thought, we can probably automate, right? Checking whether an email is spam, now it is automatically happening. We don't have to worry about it. 10 years ago, spam was a big problem, but now those are automatically screened and gone, right? Getting a text transcript of audio, translations, and a lot of different things you can just do very quickly, and you can train systems to do it quickly as well, right? So what makes machine learning problems easier? Once again, as we talked earlier in the morning, you need to have a lot of data available, and it has to be a simple concept. Now, this doesn't mean that AI can only do simple things. It means that each task has to be simple. Now, we'll talk about it next when we do the hands-on. If you look at making a self-driving car as one task, is very big. There are too many components in it. You have to break it down to very, very simple, very, very, very simple things. We'll talk about this one when we try to do the hands-on things, right? Just one concept, very simple. You have data, you can train it. If you try to put too many things, you will never be able to do it. So that is where a lot of people fail when they try to do AI projects. They try very big problems. I'll talk about it in the next part of the things, right? So for example, self-driving car, right? Identifying an object, another car. It's like you have enough images like this. It's if you have enough images like this, you can tag them, mark them, and identify a vehicle. So it's easy to do in that side of sense. What on the other hand, now these are images from Sri Lanka, Sri Lankan police. So they are doing a hand gesture here, right? They're doing a hand gesture like this. And in these 3 pictures, they mean 3 different things. So this one, it's saying stop. This is, again, hand is like this, but it's saying stop, go to this side and stop. This one, again, the same hand gesture, it's saying turn this direction. Now, so if you want to train Sri Lankan, vehicles to drive in Sri Lankan conditions, they will go nuts, right? You don't know what to do, whether to turn or whether to stop, or because it's the same hand gesture, right? So obviously, with that kind of things, you can't do it, right? So it becomes much harder than doing. And for example, X-ray diagnosis. Now, in a medical text, in a book, you might have, few images, right, where the students can look at it and you will explain and they can learn from it. But if you want to train a computer to recognize, say, for example, pneumonia, right, they would need at least about 10,000 images with, a lot of variations to correctly identify, right? You can't do it with like what you will have in 10 images in a textbook, right? So you need a lot of data and a representative sample. As I said earlier in the morning, it will be, if it's just taken one day from one person, it wouldn't work because there's a lot of bias in it. So it has to be like across a lot of people. I will just touch upon that very quickly next, right? Right. Okay, I think we have right? Okay, I'll skip this one. So for example, data science and machine learning, as I said, data science would be something like crop analytics. You just get data and analyze what is happening. But machine learning, you can actually develop something like a precision weed killer. Identify, go and kill that one, and you can do that one. Some kind of differentiation between the two, right? Okay, I'll just skip those things. Right. AI and jobs. Now, this is a very interesting thing, and that's something that we discussed in the morning, right? And especially, mostly, we have academics here. Will AI takes our job, right? Or our students' job, our kids' job, right? Now, this is a very interesting thing. The simple answer is we have no idea, right? But just to look at the global predictions. This is from the World Economic Forum Futures Job Report 2025. Now, because we are having different drivers of job change, right? One is the technology change with AI and everything, but there are also other things that are happening, especially green transition, right? And there's a lot of economic uncertainty and also the demographic shift. Now, more and more, the people live longer because of healthcare, better healthcare, better medicine. People live longer, and there's lesser and lesser kids born. Not the growth rate has become very much less. So the aging population is increasing, but there's not much younger crowd. And then taking care of the aging population is also becoming a bigger and bigger problem, because you have a large population who are not contributing now to the economy, or they have to live off there in the retirement, but there's a bigger and bigger section of the community, right? So there are a lot of challenges that are there. So this is once again, this picture has been changing in my slides over the years, but it's like even the World Economic Forum does not have a clear idea what's going to happen. But one of the things that we know for sure is that the percentage of jobs that are completely done by people, at the moment it is 47%. It's predicted that by 2030 it's going to reduce to 33%. So the rest will be done either by machines or machines and humans combined, right? So more and more are going to be done. And okay, I'm going to just skip that one as well. But fastest growing in jobs and all that's a lot of jobs that are related. But the main thing is the core skills. We had this in the survey that I gave you, and you correctly identified what are the what makes us human and what makes you do those tasks, right? And if you look at the core skills that are identified as core skills in the 21st century learners, analytical thinking, resilience, flexibility, leadership, social influence, creative thinking, motivation, self-awareness, empathy and active listening, curiosity, lifelong learning, all these things, right? Previously, 10 years ago, 30, 20 years ago, if you look at what are the skills that are needed for jobs, it will be a lot of technical things, knowing IT literacy, and language, maths, all those different things would come into the picture. Now it's actually what makes us human. Like if we try to compete with AI, we are going to lose. No, we have to be more human. We need to redefine what it means to be a human and do what the AI cannot. Things like empathy, right? Listening to others, right? Dealing with those things, leadership, those type of things are the things that the AI will not be, hopefully, won't be able to do, like probably forever, right? Are we training our kids, our future generation, to do that. Because previously, up to now, we have been training our students, our kids, our next generation on maths and language and tools and technologies. And tools and technologies, AI is going to do better, right? How to use that tools and technologies with to serve the humanity is actually going to be the issue, that the task that the humans will have in the future. Whether we can do it, right? So for example, like even in my field, like computer science and computer engineering, now like previously we had engineers, software engineers who will go and develop things, and then they will have marketing people who will go and sell this. Now increasingly in computer engineering field also, they create what's called forward facing engineers. The engineers has to go and work with the customer. They have to deal with the customer directly, because this is where they bring the humanity into that one, because they deal with the customer to know what to do, understand their requirement and build it. So now it's actually, even our field is changing a lot, right? Okay. So one of the key things is like disruption to skills. 39 or 40% of workers' core skills, like your core skill. What is your core skill? Now, if I ask every one of you, what is your core skill, right? You will define whatever your core skill is, right? Engineering, medicine, whatever, and all that. What you're good at, there will be a core skill. So what is predicted is that 40% of workers' core skill will change by 2030. Right? It's probably won't happen that level in our countries by that time, but globally it's going to happen, and it's going to affect our countries very soon, right? So we need to look at this and see how it is. And answer to that question is total job growth and loss. What is predicted? We have no idea. There's no crystal ball. So 19.2 million jobs will be displaced, but it is predicted that it will create more jobs. Now we have no idea. Once again, this is based on previous industrial revolutions, where technology changes. Whenever you have a industrial revolution, technology change, there are a lot of jobs that are replaced, right? But it creates more jobs as well. It has happened throughout history. But it is also said this is different. This time might be different. Who knows? Right? So we have no idea. We are predicting this based on what has happened in the past, in other revolutions. But there's no guarantee it's going to be the same. No, unless we take charge of it, of defining what's going to be. Okay, so the famous saying goes, AI won't replace you. Somebody using AI will, right? Yeah. So and it's easy, as I said. There are enough things. If you go to deep learning AI, or Coursera, this deep learning AI is actually a site that's done by Professor Andrew Ng. His name is there, Andrew Ng. He's a professor at Stanford. He's the foremost authority on AI and machine learning at Stanford University, right? So even when I'm teaching machine learning in my university, I don't teach machine learning. I just guide them. I then show them what can be done. And I ask them to go and learn from Andrew Ng. Because, you can learn from the best expert in the world. Why should they, why should I even try? Because there are, and all of you can, right? All of you can go and learn from Professor Andrew Ng. These are free, deep learning AI. And Coursera, there are all these latest courses on machine learning available. And you can all learn these things, how to use it if you are interested. Okay. Now, very quickly into the next stage, the big leap of generative AI, what has changed this one and what have inspired us to do this, right? So generative AI, what is it? Generating new content from using machines, text, images, music. Of course, you knew that, right? So it's different from the old AI, the predictive AIs. Use the existing data and predict what it is. Generative AI is to create entirely new content, right? And this, okay, right? So so we are basically looking at mainly about large language models, What is large language models? It's the generative AI for text, right? So there are other things for images, text, and all that. We are mainly looking at large language models. Large language models is an extension of natural language processing, which is used for content creation in text. And GPT is one of those engines for generative pre-trained transformer. Is one of the family of large language models. There are other large language models such as Bard, Llama, Claude, and so on. Okay, and there are other Gen AI models other than large language models, like generative adversarial networks or GANs for images, transformer-based models again. For generating music and so on, diffusion models again for high quality images. So there are a lot of other things. You don't need to know any of these, understand any of these. Just I'm just putting it there for the sake of completeness. To understand, generative AI is much more than ChatGPT, right? There's a long and a array of things that you can use for different tasks, right? Okay, I mentioned this one, amount of data, as I said, 1.7 trillion parameters in ChatGPT by last year. Okay, prompt engineering and use cases, right? So prompt engineering is the key, how to get the most out of Gen AI, right? So I am pretty sure that all of you or most of you have used. But let's just try to establish a few things before we move on to the hands-on exercises. Okay. So we start with, you can even ask a very simple question like, now previously we couldn't do this. Like, for example, what do you call someone who keeps praising a leader, example, a politician, even when they are wrong, to be on their good side? Something that is very common in our countries, right? And previously you could not ask this one. You can ask, who is a sycophant? Right? Who is a sycophant? It will tell you it's somebody who praises their leaders even to be on their good side if it's not. But you could not ask the reverse question. But you can now. Now, there's a reason why I use this word, specific term here as well. Because if you have used ChatGPT or any Gen AI model, you would have realized that whenever you ask a question and say, I think this is something I did, or I think like this, what do you think? If you ask ChatGPT, what do you think, or tell me about this, it will tell you, oh, wow, this is great, right? If you have used, it's like always praise whatever you have done. It will never say anything to make you feel bad. So sycophancy is a big problem. If you don't know what is happening, you can basically fall in love with ChatGPT or Gen AI, right? Because it never argues with you. It's never say any very bad thing, right? So it's like you can get addicted to this one because it's always telling you good things, right? So I specifically say, whenever I ask questions, I say, okay, don't be a sycophant or don't patronize me, give your honest opinion. And now ChatGPT knows. ChatGPT says, okay, since you always ask for this one, it will all give you honest opinion, right? But you can get to the fall, get to the trap of, believing your own hype, right? Unless you are very careful, because it is very careful. I sometimes fight with ChatGPT. I said, what nonsense are you talking about? This is completely wrong. And I'll have like big arguments, but it will never say anything wrong, bad again, but it will give me, honest answers, but it will never say anything bad, right? It will never say, okay, no, you are wrong. It will never say, oh no, you have a good point. But I say, okay, tell me the truth, right? But you have to be very careful, because otherwise you can get to the trap of, it will ensure that it's not telling you as directly to ensure that you are not offended. And that's one of the biggest dangers of this one, right? And another other things, to understand different models. Now, previously, my favorite was Gemini, because it's very creative. ChatGPT, on the other hand, very formulaic. It's kind of like, it gives very proper, formatted, properly done, very
official documents. It's very good. Yeah. So that's the GPT model. But on the other hand, Gemini model, it's very, very creative. So you need to understand, you need to know which one to use for which purpose. Like for example, when I said, no, this AP gain proposal, I said, I wrote this in 3 nights, right? So I had a big idea, the idea of what that, which I discussed with, I forgot to introduce Roshan, who's the CEO of Learn. He was just there in the back. He was sitting here as well. So Roshan and I, we were having discussion about, what to do. So we had a general idea what we wanted to do. And then I had gathered all the recorded video. I don't know. You have to ask them. They will share. So I knew what to do, and I also had a lot of background documents, Beijing consensus, UNESCO documents, all these things were there, right? So I got all them together, and I gave it to ChatGPT. I could upload it. Gemini, of course, at that time we could not upload documents. So my prompt for Gemini was about 37 pages long. I had to give all the background information. I have to set up, okay, this, consider this, consider this, consider these things, consider these things. This is what I want to do. This is about Roshan. This is about me, and so on. This is about Learn. All these things I had to write in my prompt and say, this is what we want to do, and prepare the proposal. And here's the format we need. For example, here you can just say, right, this is the format that you can do. I want summary, core team, project, multidisciplinary, all these different parts of this thing, create the document. So I would not just create that one and cut and paste. That will defeat the purpose of human in the loop. And actually, I don't expect that you will get any good results either. So what I would normally do, I did is normally create 3-4 versions from ChatGPT. Each one will be different, right? Have one of those. I did the same for Gemini, got them. Now I'm looking at it, okay, now Gemini, introduction, background, motivation part is really, really good compared to ChatGPT one, which is very formulaic, right? So I will get certain parts from Gemini for my motivation, background part. The introduction part, it's very, really beautifully written. And then for the methodology and the results and all that, I would use mostly ChatGPT content, right? But you put together, I combine them, get good sentences from this one, that one, put them together, put them back again, and say, this is how I have done, write the rest now, right? So it's a kind of a discussion that is going on, because I am telling it, okay, you're giving me, I have enhanced it, this is exactly what I want, here's the new content for the introduction, write the rest of the things. Right, so it's an iteration. That's why it took 3 nights. Otherwise, I could have just done it in one night, just cut and paste and send. Right, but what makes it, that's what makes it yours. Otherwise, it's an AI content. Right, you give the right prompt, get the output, but make it yours. That is what using AI properly will look like. Right, so creating proposals, so you can give all these things and do that. So this is another project I like that. And also making learning easy, right? Now, previously, so one of the things about GPT or Gen AI is that now previously, probably 30 years ago, right, or even more, when there was no internet, we had to go to the library and search for things, right? There'll be many of you who had to go to the library and learn, right? Even when I started my undergraduate degree, I had to go to the library and find a lot of content. And it changed around, with Google, right? You could search for any information. And since 2000, I have never been to a library, because I can always find the information I need for my learning in the internet. But previously, your knowledge previously depended upon just few books that you can find in your library or your friends or whoever. Thereafter, it's changed to whatever you find, through search in Google. So now you have more resources, right? You can search from everywhere, you can find, but it depends on how much you will search for. If you ask your students to write a review paper, how many papers will they read before they write, right? Some will take the effort to go and read at least, 30, 40, 50. Some will just read like 10 and do it, right? So it depends. So whatever your knowledge will depend on how curious and how interested you are. The difference with Gen AI now is that Gen AI is looking at all the knowledge, right? So previously, it's like Google, what we say is like Google is like going to a library with a flashlight and trying to find the information you need. You're just looking through, finding some information, grabbing them and doing. What Gen AI is like talking to a learned and expert who has read thousands of books, and when you ask a question, it can tell you, information that is coming from thousands or millions of books. That's the difference, right? And even if you are an expert in any field, explaining things to a student, you won't be able to do it better than what ChatGPT can do. And that's what I'm using in classes, because it's even futile to do it, because I can take so much effort to put all these things together, and I can do it with one prompt with ChatGPT, right? So it has made learning very, very easy. For example, what is biotechnology? So it's giving me a very broad introduction. I work. My wife is in a professor in molecular biology, biotechnology. So most of my projects are also in biotechnology, because I provide the computing side for that one. So this one, to give an introduction, okay, this, I was like, okay, maybe this is too complex. Give me a shorter and a simple version, right? So it's giving me now it's much simpler. Now I can go and later look at the details, right? Give me a simple and sweet and simple version of biotechnology. Let's look at the details later, which makes things much easier. If you get a biotechnology textbook, you start reading, and by the end of first page, you are done. Right? It's too complex for even to, you can't say, give me a summary of this one. It's not there, right? But here you can do it, right? But now this is something I don't stop there. Now I keep asking this question, that was actually from 2 years ago when I started this one. This is 1 year ago when DeepSeek came. I asked the same question from DeepSeek, and I have never ever seen a better explanation of basic biotechnology than what DeepSeek gave me. I have asked this question from Gemini, Claude, all these things. I have never seen a better explanation. So I keep asking, probably, I should ask it again from ChatGPT and see now with the newer models. But this is one of the most brilliant explanations of biotechnology that I have ever seen. There is nowhere in a textbook or anything, not even any slide from any expert, not this good, not this well, right? So it makes things much easier, right? Teaching and all that. And also role play, one of the things that we discuss in prompt engineering, you need to understand that one was DeepSeek, the last one. DeepSeek was better for that one. As I said earlier, right? You need to figure out which one is well, I'll come to that one. Yeah. So so I'll come to that one. Okay. Now things it's when you are working with any Gen AI, you need to go for the particular role. Like, for example, say, imagine you are a financial expert, or imagine you are this particular role and do this one. Now you need to set up the environment of what they are doing. This is something completely different. It's this is from one of my favorite books, H. Rider Haggard's Alan Quatermain and King Solomon Mines. And it says, assume that you are Alan Quatermain and answer this question. Right? So it's the way it's written, so So what do you fear most? And it's answers the same way Alan Quatermain would answer, right? You know, you're not asking ChatGPT. I'm saying, think you're Alan Quatermain and answer. You can actually set up your ChatGPT or Gemini to play a particular role. Think you are a professor in this area and answer, right? So you can actually do that role play so that it will take that knowledge, that persona, and do it, right? So setting up that persona is actually very important. Something like, you know, what is software engineering? I teach for software engineering also. Like, what is software engineering? If you look at this one, it's like very, very, like, you know, already is very boring, right? That's what textbooks looks like. That's why Gen Zs, no, Gen Zs are not interested in reading this anything more, right? You know, we are teaching to the Gen Zs, and the Gen Alphas are coming very quick soon, and they are not interested in this you know, reading and you know, so on. I mean, unfortunately, and what are we going to do? Punish them to read? No, I mean, we need to work with their favor, right? What they like. So, okay, oh God, this is so boring. Can you make it more exciting and fun? So now it's explaining software engineering to me, as it's like it's saying, okay, imagine you are a modern day wizard, and software engineering is like building magic castles in the digital world. You start with a vision, all those different things. So I'm like, okay, go on, right? Tools of the trade, language of creation, like frameworks and libraries are like spell books. Language of creation are the spells. You know, so this like it makes you, you know, look at it in a very different manner and make it very exciting to read, rather than just basic textbook of explanations, right? So, you know, you can do it in any different way. I mean, I didn't even tell it what to use. If you want to use any other example, it will just come up with some nice story with any domain to make it simple for anybody to understand, right? So it can make learning very, very interesting, right? Yeah, write a story about this one, and it's okay. Yeah, go to the next one. And translation, once again, translation is a very difficult thing for our languages, as for things that I mentioned in the morning, because natural language, right? Especially English and our language, the formats are very different. Like if you are translating between Bengali and Sinhala, it will be much easier because our language structures are very similar. But English and Sinhala are very different. Even the word orders and the way you express are very different. That's why if you put, like, you know, English term in Google Translate and get it, if you put 1 or 2 words, it will work fine most of the time. If you put an entire sentence, it sometimes doesn't look well. If you put an entire paragraph, most of the time there's a lot of errors, right? And I found, once again, DeepSeek to be better for Sinhala, but not straight out of the box, but it was better just straight out of the box. But what I would do, this is, so I was translating for another training program on cybersecurity. I will let it translate, get it. I will not try to change one of them. I will read the English sentence. I will think, how would I write it in Sinhala? And I will change that one accordingly. I will look at its output. I will edit it myself to make it better. I will put it back saying, here's my version. Give me the next one. And I did that for like 3-4 documents. And thereafter, it was actually translating brilliantly well. Right? So this is, I'll show you what it means later. Right? And tutoring, there are enough, I mean, you can use it as a tutor. Like if you go and ask it, like, you know, if you're teaching, when a student asks a question, you're not directly giving answer, right? You're like, okay, what do you think? I mean, this is the way that to learn, right? What do you think? You know, what do you think if this happened? You know, all these things. Now, there are tutors, if you ask it, so this is what I'm asking my son also to do. You know, use it like a tutor. Don't ask for the answers. Like, if you want learning, use a tutor. There are enough tutors. Or ask it to be like a tutor, so that it will not give you that answer directly. It will let you find. It's called, you know, guided discovery in learning, right? Guided discovery and scaffolding. Starting from what you know, and it guides you to find the answers, right? So it's called guided discovery and scaffolding. So that, you know, it's, you know, you can easily replace your teaching because we have shortages of teachers anyways, right? Too much student to teacher ratio, right? But we can have one-on-one tutoring for students, by using these things. Everybody can have their own tutor to learn better. Like if you teach them, if you train them better, right? And universal design of learning, right? Let me see whether, okay, it's not there. So universal design of learning, if you don't know what it is, go and look it up. Universal design of learning is to cater for different type of learners, because there are many type of learners. We only can teach in one way, but how can we can design our teaching to cater to different type of learners. So this is like, okay, I'm doing this course, using UDL principles, come up with a lesson plan. So it creates a lesson plan that will cater to different type of learners, the visual learners, auditory learners, kinesthetic learners, different type of learners, right? So come up with a lesson plan using UDL principles. So there are a lot of things that you can do, and also help with research, right? Help with research. I want to start a research project on writing patient letters using LLMs, right? And this is an idea that came from a doctor, and I was like, okay, I don't know what even this means. Can we do it? I asked, here I'm asking Gemini, and it's giving me a list of what are the patient letters and all that. But then the idea of references. I mean, now things are different than it used to be a year ago. But even with ChatGPT was used to hallucinate and come up with bogus references. But with ChatGPT, you can use apps like Consensus. You can go in and then find apps like Consensus, which actually has the database of research papers, and it will give you correct results, right? Or you can use something like Perplexity. I am now mostly for my research, I'm using Perplexity more than any other tool, right? So it's a trial and error thing. It's like, if I can't say, like, based on what ChatGPT did in 3.5, it's so much different in 5.2, right? So I can't base my knowledge of ChatGPT or what's its possibilities based on what 3.5 used to do. I have to always go and check the latest capabilities of the tools. Are they good at it now? What are they doing? Right? So I do that constantly. I just for the fun of it, I just go and check with other things, Claude and Perplexity and Gemini. I just go fun for. I'll just ask everybody and see which one is better, right? Because they are changing, they are updating so fast. You cannot have prejudice or bias for saying this is what it is, right? So, but Perplexity is actually much better in for research purposes than the others. And also, paper review has become so easy now. Previously, reviewing a paper is so hard, and I could take days. That now, I mean, I'm not replacing myself, but I get help from multiple entities to do the review or the initial review, so that I can identify errors. I am not doing it with one though. Why? Because one can miss. They can have errors as well. So I will give it to Perplexity, I will give it to ChatGPT, compare notes, and if they are all the same, then I'm through. If they have differences, then I need to go and look at these things much more closely. So don't do the mistake of just getting one and just sticking it in there, because if it make a mistake, you're also in trouble. But if you just compare notes between two different entities or two, three different GPTs or GenAIs, you're fine, right? Administrative processes, creating those things and so on, right? What we'll look at next. And also creating your own agents. Now, this is my agent for Learn. Learn Enhanced Intelligent Assistant, or LEA for short. Now, I have given it all my previous work, all the projects that I have done, everything, and I have configured it with all the knowledge. Now, previously, as I said, I had to write like 37-page long prompt for my proposal, right? Now, I want to write a proposal. The next one I wrote for Asia Connect project. I just go and ask, okay, can you remember all these things? Yeah, it knows everything. What I have done up to now, it knows everything. So now I have to say, okay, this is what I'm planning. Look at these references. This is what I'm planning. It knows my entire history, what I have done, what my things, all that. Now I don't have to train and give all this background information. It knows everything, right? So you can create those kind of things. And similar, like, there are other things. This is a letter of recommendations, once again, for professors. One of the hardest things that you have to do is, providing letters of recommendations for students for go for higher studies. And it's very difficult because, like, you have to write a really good one and it has to be unique. If they're applying for same place, you have to be unique and very specific to that students. It's not easy, right? It takes, like, first draft takes very long time for any given student. Now, what I've done here is, I have given this. Now, I could have just given the CV and a statement of purpose of a student to ChatGPT and say, write a statement, recommendation letter. Now, but it would sound like coming from an American professor. Why? Because it's biased to a Western way of writing. We write very differently. The way we write and the way the Americans write are different, right? So if we ask it to write a recommendation letter, it will sound more like an American guy. So what I have done is, I have given the previous recommendations letters I have written, I have given it there, and then I asked it to write, it matches my style now. It writes as exactly, when I read it, it looks like I have written it. There's no doubt. It's not from an American professor because I have given it the documents to, this is my style. Write it in my style. Right? So now it's like, it's like, so now giving a recommendation, it's like takes 5 minutes. I give its CV, statement purpose, and give it to this agent and says, okay, write one, and I'll write probably few things just to explain what is the connection and what is unique about that students. That's it. Sorry, it can't replace because I have to tell it. I have to tell it what is the uniqueness of, because the way you write recommendation letters is that you need to make it personal, right? You need to have anecdotes to say. I mean, I cannot just say he has leadership skills. I have to give an example. So I have to, that part is coming from me. But that's it. The writing is done by, so what is unique about these students? I have to tell it. Yes, absolutely. Meta prompting, yes, that's the other thing. Meta prompting, you ask it to create a prompt to do it better. Yeah, that's actually, yeah, that's can do. This is quality assurance stuff going in degree, where other universities degree offerings you have to do and go and do, what you call evaluating their degrees. Now you can just do it with, again, prompts. Now they have started thinking, right? So actually, that thinking part actually is much better because that shows you the analytical thinking part. To my son, who's like now 15 years old, I tell him, read the thinking part first because it shows you how to think. More than the answer, the thinking is actually, it's very interesting, extremely interesting. Go and read these thinking parts, a deep thinking part, so this is in Perplexity, that one. So this one, this is actually for my son's exam. And it taught for 1 minute. And like, pages of pages of pages of thinking. This is not the answer. This is the thinking part. I said, go and read it. It seems it's much more informative than the answer itself, right? How to think about the answer. It's actually much better, right? So it'll develop your thinking as well. Okay, and yeah, it's getting better and better. I mean, it's becoming. I mean, this one actually, I was asking a very simple question: distinction between curriculum planning and new course introduction. Right? I just asked ChatGPT, what's the difference between curriculum planning and new course development introduction? Now, why I asked this was, I was having my this professorship application, and I had to fill these things with different things. So I asked that question. It asked, why are you asking? Give me the context. I said, no, I'm applying for this professorship, and I have to fulfill this one. He went to our UGC website, got the entire the application process, all the criteria, everything. I mean, I didn't ask it to do it. I just asked a very simple question. It went and looked for all these things, analyzed all that, and it started giving me things. Okay, you should write this here, you should write this here, you should write here. I mean, it's now actually even doing better than our prompts, right? Right. Okay. Now, one of the things, of course, you know that you can create images. These are the images that I created for this aid workshop, as I mentioned earlier. But what I wanted to show these images is it's easier to show the importance of understanding the bias in Gen AI, right? So this one is like, I wanted to say, okay, draw me a ultra realistic image of a classroom where they are using AI, right? Or a lab or something. Now, when I did for the first time, right? What do I get? I get a classroom filled with Europeans or Westerners or American looking classroom, right? Then I said, no, make it Asian. And it looks all Chinese or East Asian, right? And then I have to say, no, make it look Sri Lankan. You know what happens when you say Sri Lankan? I'll show you what happens. So it starts putting Sri Lanka flag everywhere. So no, I don't do that. Right? Don't do that. But if you say don't, it doesn't recognize that one. Right? It doesn't recognize. You can't say what not to do, because it's like, you can't say a negative, right? Say, for example, if I tell you, do not think about a pink elephant. Yeah. No, I can't say, I mean, if I tell you don't think about pink elephant, that's the only thing you will think about. Right? So it's the same thing with ChatGPT also, or Gen AI. Right? You can't say what not to do. You have to say what to do. So, right, what not to do will not work. So, so I will ask, okay, make it look South Asian. Now, so it looks more Indian, but I'm fine, right? Oh. But you need to be like, but what happens is in text, you don't see this. So you have to be very careful, right? Because in images, it is very obvious. In text, it's not. So if you are not careful, it will look very different, right? So that's what you need to be aware of. Okay, right. No, I think all of you know about the risk of Gen AI now: misinformation, hallucinations, bias outputs, profanity changes, privacy concerns, and all that. Responsible AI use, we'll have a quick discussion about this one tomorrow before we finish. Okay, right. So next one is to master in prompt engineering. Actually, unfortunately, I have to go to another Asia Connect governance meeting after break. So I will skip to the next section, and Professor Chalinda Benaragama will do the prompt engineering masterclass after the break. Okay. But before that, we'll go to the next section, which is trying to identify what you will work on to be presented tomorrow. Right? Identify task to be done so that you will create and do tomorrow. The problem is that we are supposed to do this as a group exercise, but we don't have time to create groups, right? We don't have time to create groups. What to do? Can you do it at the end? Yeah, you do that one and create the. Okay, right. So Professor Chalinda will take care of creating the groups in the final session. So we will do the initial task of identify what you're going to work on, right? And then we'll create groups of people who will be working on similar problems, like academics who are working on this one, administrative officers, network engineers, software engineers, whoever, right? Okay. So what we're going to do is, okay, how many of you have a job description with you? Your job description. How many of you know what a job description is? You know what a job description is, right? What you do in your job. What you're supposed to do in your job. Right? So All right. So if you don't have a job description with you, what we will do is, no, we will create a job description. We'll ask ChatGPT to create a job description, right? Why bother? Right? Okay. Don't waste time on doing this trivial task. Outsource all these things. Right. So this is what exactly what I did last time. Right. So you can be more descriptive than this one. I have just given right. So if you don't have a job description, now we are starting hands-on. You have to get computers out and do this. Otherwise, you are not going to get the certificate. Right? You have to do this. Use whatever Gen AI that you are working with. Right? Yeah, you can do that. You can get your phone, get ChatGPT on the app, scan it, but don't say Asita Bandaranayaka because it will create for me. So you have to put your own thing there, right? Tell it what it is. You can probably give your CV also, and you can say, ask it to create a job description for you, right? If you don't have a job description, okay. What? Yeah, you can. I mean, you don't have to do it with Claude. You can do it with. You can do it with ChatGPT, Gemini, whatever tool that you are. Yes, it depends. I am now using ChatGPT more exclusively simply because I have used it a lot. It knows me like exactly what I want. Like even without saying, ChatGPT knows. But like when I'm creating a big document proposal something, I will also go and check with Claude and Gemini just to get a comparison of things. But very quick things, I'm mostly using ChatGPT because because it knows me better than I know myself. It ask it and see. Just ask it and see. It will say, I can't say. That's what normally it will say. But you need to ask and see. It depends on what you like, right? Hmm? Which one? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, 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 yeah. Okay. Have you created your job descriptions? Right. So anyway, if you have a job description, we'll go to the next step, right? Identifying what you are going to do, right? So it has created one. So if you have created your job description, do this based on the JD given above, right? You can upload a JD, copy a JD, or create your own JD. Based on the JD given above, prepare a detailed process mapping for this job. Do you know what process mapping is? Okay, I didn't know either until recently, right? So what do you do? What do you do if you don't know what process mapping is? Right? You go and ask the same question, right? I think that is here. What is a JD? What is process mapping? Right? If you don't know what process mapping is, go and ask ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini or whatever. What is process mapping? Process mapping is a visual technique used to document, analyze, and improve business processes or workflows. It involves creating a detailed diagram that shows every step, decision point, and interaction within a specific process. Right? So start and end points of the process, sequential steps, and all that. So everything that you do, right? Whether it's research, whether it's teaching, whether it's administrative process, it's everything is a process. And if you do a process mapping, you can identify each single step of a process. Now, how many of you have done that? I have never done this until I started this one, right? Because we never thought it like that, right? We know what the steps are. So I mentioned this. Why are we doing this? I mentioned earlier, right? Please, okay, so I'm like, it's too, like, please make it simple, right? Process mapping is creating a visual diagram that shows the work that's done step by step. Why do it? To see the whole process clearly, find problems or slow spots, make things more efficient, help people understand their role, standardize how work is done. Right? Now, as I mentioned earlier, if you can remember, I said one of the biggest issues of trying to use technology or AI to improve your work is that people will look at entire processes. For example, let's say one of the most difficult and hated process in our universities is the procurement process. The procurement process is there's so many steps involved, so many difficulties, so many repetitive things. It's very, everybody hates procurement process, except for people who are making money out of it, right? So anyway, now if you say use AI to automate the procurement process, that's a very big thing. You won't be able to do that in even few years because there are too many things involved, right? So what we do is to do a process mapping and break it down step by step and identify steps that you can automate or use AI very quickly. You can do it now. Like now, before you go tomorrow, you will have a solution to at least few of those steps. Now, one of the things, I will come back to that one, right? So this is why we are doing the process mapping. So what we do is, right? First of all, get your job description. Right. Based on the JD given above, prepare a detailed process mapping for this job. So it will basically identify different parts of your job, identify different parts, and it will do so, for example, right? So for me, this is for the senior lecturer answer, research and evaluate academic technology need, operational management, all these different things are there, right? So it's identifying different parts of my job and looking at breaking down basically identifying the processes that involve. So there's like, do this process mapping and you will see your job in a way that you have never thought about it before, right? The amount of things you do, and if it's not accurate, tell it. No, I do more things as well, right? So you can do this process mapping and see what are the different type of things that you do in your job and how you're doing it and so on. Okay. Right. And then once you're done with your process mapping, right, the next part is based on the previous process mapping, do process analysis and re-engineer these processes for integrating GenAI to make these processes efficient and productive, aiming for a better outcome. This is the way I have written it. I mean, basically what you're saying is, look at the process mapping, analyze these processes, and re-engineer these processes to identify how you can integrate AI to make things better. Okay? And so anyway, you have to do this one. In tomorrow, this entire task is identifying a task and multiple couple of tasks and doing it. Okay. So now the idea is, what you will get. Right. It will look at different tasks and see where you can put integrate AI, Gen AI for these things and how we can do it. So basically, it will bring down to the tasks. Right. So can you identify different Gen AI tools that could be useful, these things? Okay, I'm going to just skip that for now. You can do it later for the recognized ones. Okay, so the next task, so now what we did, create a job description or have a job description, use the job description and do a process mapping, right? Identify the processes in your job. And then for those processes, you tell it, okay, do a process analysis and identify how you can integrate Gen AI to make it more efficient and more productive, right? So process analysis will bring this down to task and look at what can be replaced with Gen AI, how Gen AI can use in different places. And the next thing that you will do is that you will identify, I mean, I normally in a longer workshop, I will stop at the previous one and I will ask you to brainstorm and identify 3 to 5 tasks that you want to work on now, right? But since we don't have much time in this session because we are only having 6 sessions, and other thing is this, like people will have a lot of discussions and deliberations about what to do, and I say, why didn't you ask ChatGPT for some guidance? Because it is actually much better in doing this. Why? Now, one of the questions that I asked normally when I say go and pick 3 to 5 tasks that you want to automate, this is what I ask first. Think about what are think about the tasks that you waste most of the time in your job. What do you waste most of your time in your job, right? So it will be different. Like for example, for me, it is mostly meetings, right? A lot of unnecessary meetings, or like previously, like, writing meeting minutes or something, and, creating documents. If you ask like documentation, all these things, you're wasting a lot of time. You think it's a waste because, you're doing things, right? Whatever you think it's a waste. Why? Because it's the next question I asked. What do you hate most about your job? Once again, the documentation, writing these things, all those things comes, right? Oh, yeah, right. So there are things that, that's not actually my number one thing I hate as well. Absolutely horrible. Why are we bothered even teaching that? Sometimes you think, right? Yeah. Anyway, so you need to come up with why, because where you should try to integrate your technology is to automate things you don't like doing and you are wasting your time, so that you can use the time saved to do things you like. Very simple, right? So that's why you need to identify each task and identify the task that you absolutely hate doing. Somehow figure out a way to automate it. Very simple, right? If you do that, you have enough time to spend on things that you like, right? So one by one, if you can replace, so that's what we will try to do, by tomorrow, at least one task that you absolutely hate, right? We'll try to automate, find a solution, AI solution for you. No, or you will develop a solution that will, reduce your workload and things, get rid of things that you hate. Okay. And then once you identify those tasks, you can say, for these tasks, show me how GenAI can be used with detailed steps. Do not do any of these, try to do any of these by yourself. Right? For example, everything. Like last time when we did this in Japan, last March, we had, he's not here, so there was Professor Shankar, Dr. Shankar from Malaysia. He attended that one. He's a full fellow. He's here. He's attending this APAN as well. He created the chatbot to answer his students, entirely created, put online, working within 30 minutes. Entire thing, just copy paste, copy paste, copy paste, copy paste, some actions, again what the ChatGPT is telling you, completely done and dusted in 30 minutes, complete chatbot to answer all the questions. It's that simple. You don't have to go and look through documents anymore. You can ask it. If it doesn't work, you go back, this error is there, what to do. It's that simple, right? And you can implement. You should look at implementing solutions with the help right here. Get it done, right? So we will do it tomorrow completely, and ensure that you will at least have one solution to go home with. Right. Okay, so that's it for now. I think we'll break for tea, and we'll have the prompt engineering masterclass after the break at 4 o'clock. Unfortunately, I won't be here. I have to attend the Asia Connect governance meeting. Yeah, it is here. Yeah, I'll share it later, right? So I have few other things as well. So